Liverpool 1, Chelsea 0 after extra time. It is heartbreak at Wembley. It's another opportunity missed in a cup final. Once again, another match against Liverpool that goes to extra time and doesn't end up going in our favour. Josh, is gutted the right word, or is that an understatement?
Gutted is an understatement, mate. That is absolutely brutal. And do you know what? Before the game, I had a feeling that it would be this brutal. I said that Liverpool were going to win on pens. I would argue that a last-minute goal in extra time is probably just as bad as losing
worse.
on pens.
It's worse because at least if it goes to penalties, you end up losing on penalties. You go, do you know what? That is what it is. It's a shootout. It can go either way. But for that goal to go in so late on, Virgil van Dijk to sort of arrive late with the header driving through the box, it's just a bit of a sickener, really. And although we can say that we had some chances that on another day, we might have had 2-3 goals, I don't think the performance we put in was as bad as it could have been. I also don't think it was a great performance.
It wasn't a classic performance at all, but you've got to say, bearing in mind Liverpool got injuries, you can only beat the team that's put out in front of you. We've gone toe-to-toe with a team that's right up there in the Premier League title race. And I know you're sort of downplaying the chances, but fuck me. Like, if we have Osimhen or one of those players, like, they're scoring those chances.
Yeah.
And it's a tale of our season, mate. Like, how many opportunities do we create week in, week out, and we just don't sort them home? And do you know what? It felt to me like it was a bit more at the start of the season we were seeing that. But like today, it was just like, come on, like Gallagher 2 1-on-1s, Cole Palmer with that chance in the first half, mate. There are so many. I could name 3 or 4 more chances that we had.
We'll obviously get on to speaking about Pochettino, but is that something that goes in favour when we look at the sort of job that Pochettino is doing here, to say we're creating loads and loads of chances, and ultimately a manager can set us up systematically in the best possible way for us to get in the opportunity to score the chances, but a manager can't really improve your sort of clinicalness in front of goal, can it?
Nah, and this is for me. Like I'm sure, and we'll get into this. Don't worry, everyone. I'm sure there'll be a lot of people saying Poch out after this performance.
Well, we were just doing the live stream in the chat. There were a lot of people saying Poch out.
Yeah, and for me, I think that is incredibly harsh when you're looking at it and you're saying the team and the tactics that he put out there today basically kept Liverpool out for 90 minutes and kept Liverpool out for the majority of extra time. We looked like they had chances, but there weren't that many gilt-edged chances. Like they could have scored. They had more shots on target than us, but I don't remember so many being like, that's a gilt-edged chance. They should have scored that. And so tactically, for me, he set it up in a way that I expected him to. Like, in fact, to all the people that are dissenting and Poch dissenters, how would you have changed that? Like, if you looked at that bench, okay, and Nkunku could have started.
I think that's the main sort of sticking point there, isn't it? That when you're looking at it, you're sort of thinking, okay, Raheem Sterling, I understand it. Is it a sentiment start for him? Possibly, but I understand it. Sometimes in the bigger games, he's been a little bit better. I would argue that we're having our judgment clouded somewhat by that Man City game. Not the last one either, because I didn't think he was that good in that. He so happened to get on the goal sheet. Probably should have been on it twice. The Man City game where he tore Kyle Walker to shreds was a very impressive performance from Raheem Sterling. I didn't think he was great on the opening day against Liverpool. I can't necessarily say I thought he was great against Arsenal. I thought he was poor against Liverpool in the return fixture. I can't remember if he even played against Man United, but that pretty much says it all. I don't think that Raheem Sterling should have been starting there. I think that we should have had Christopher Nkunku on. We did see Christopher Nkunku eventually, and am I right to say that despite the sort of early spark we were seeing from Nkunku, we're now sort of being left with more questions rather than answers around him?
Something about the way that Nkunku's playing at the moment feels to me like he's still nursing something and he isn't pushing it as hard as he can, because we saw him in pre-season. He was electric. He was absolutely tearing teams apart, and that link up between him and Jackson looked brilliant. We were so excited for it, and I do think it must be he's keeping something back, because in the last few games he's come on, and obviously it's difficult to come into a game, especially a cup final. It's very difficult to come in and exert yourself, but he's felt anonymous, and that's why for me, like, I actually am not that mad with the Sterling start, even though I don't particularly rate him, but it's better than some of the other options we had. I don't know if Nkunku starting would have changed the game.
No, I think you're probably right to say maybe it wouldn't have.
But before we get into all that, I know what is on your mind. You're looking at me and you're thinking, do you know what? He looks quite good. He looks very well kept. The ground floor looks nice, but I know what you're thinking. What about the basement? Well, that's being looked after too by today's video sponsors, Manscaped, who, by the way, are trusted by over 10 million men worldwide. So now's the time to get a grip on your grooming routine. How do you do it? By simply clicking the link in the description. It will take you to the Manscaped website, and then once you're there, you are going to put in Joey Knight as the discount code, all caps lock, as if you were shouting it. And that, my friends, will get you 20% off and free shipping on your order. But on the off chance you're not already sold, I'm about to tell you why you should be, because here is what Manscaped can offer you. Manscaped's 5th generation lawnmower. It is not just a trimmer, it is your grooming sidekick. Equipped with 2 skin-safe blade heads, a standard one for taking a little bit off the top, and a new foil blade to go smooth wherever your heart desires. And did I mention that it's waterproof, meaning not only will you be singing in the shower, you will be trimming in the shower. And for all you men who want a full grooming experience, then look no further than the Manscaped's Performance Package 5.0, because in this grooming kit, you'll get the trusted lawnmower. You get Manscaped's ear and nose hair trimmer, and Crop Soother ball aftershave lotion, and Crop Preserver anti-chafing ball deodorant. Yes, it is deodorant for your balls, and I bet you didn't know you needed that. And as if they haven't done enough for you already, they're throwing in 2 free gifts with your order, which is the Boxers 2.0 and the 2.0 toiletry bag. So if you want to look as good and as well groomed as I am today, you know what to do. Head over to the Manscaped website. When you're at the checkout, put in my discount code for 20% off. Thank you once again to Manscaped for sponsoring this video. Let's get into it.
What I would say is, early on, despite having 1 or 2 chances, at half-time, we were looking at the front line and we were thinking, mate, at the minute, there's no potency across that front line. There's hardly any creativity. I think that in some of the matches when we haven't been doing as well, I've seen Pochettino act, even at half-time. I think there was one match where we saw a triple substitution, wasn't there? I think that was the Liverpool game. We did play slightly better in the second half. I'd have liked to have seen him be a bit more proactive in the way he changed the team and tweaked the team. But then again, I suppose you could always argue that our hands are somewhat tied, aren't they, when we've got these injuries. I mean, Liverpool have banged on all week, getting it in just in case they lost about these injuries, and ultimately they won, and I've got egg on my face. I can't really say too much, but fuck me, man, we've got a lot of injuries in there. Like, we've got a lot of sort of major personnel that have a massive impact on this team that are missing out. Whether you agree with the start for Thiago Silva or not, that's one guy we had out today. Romeo Lavia gives us a completely different dimension in midfield that, okay, we haven't been able to see that much so far this season, but that's another one there, you know. Towards the latter stages of a game, I know he's not even with us at the moment, but maybe that's the time when you would stick a Brower on or something like that. So when you look at the injuries we've had combined with sort of the way that the club's being chosen to be run at the moment, I think that it would be harsh to then look at Pochettino and say, well, you know, it's all on you, mate. At the same time, I don't think it's moronic to sit here and ask the question, if that was Jose Mourinho, would we have won that final?
Yeah.
So it's on both sides, really, isn't
How
it?
does Jose set up that team that makes a difference? Like, I honestly think if you look at the bench and the options that we had today, I don't think you could do anything materially different to change it.
We didn't concede from open play either.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
both times. Was it both times from a corner?
Yeah, it was,
or a set piece?
Yeah.
So, yeah, it is hard. It is
the
hard.
only one that I think you could say is potentially, when Noni came on, he looked all right. And maybe if you'd done the Noni sub instead of Nkunku, maybe that would have made a difference. Because as I say, I just think he hasn't made an impact when he's come on. That's the only thing I would have changed in the entire managerial setup, you know, today. So, yeah, I think, obviously, mate, there's going to be conversation after conversation now. It seems like that way, it always is like that at the moment. Whenever we lose a game or it's a big game we don't perform in, Pochettino is immediately under pressure. Yeah. And yet when we win, it's Pochettino's doing well and he deserves more time. We hear briefings from the club. So I'm finding this whole sort of flip-flopping really draining, actually, as a Chelsea fan now. And I think basically what we need to do is we just need to sort of get on with it. He's going to be here to the end of the season, whether you like him or not. So just back him. And now the pressure is going to be on the league, and we need to start delivering performances.
Well,
quickly.
I mean, if, you know, before a ball was kicked, I said to you at this point in the season, we'll be 11th in the league. We'll have got to a League Cup final but lost it. Where are you rating this job Pochettino's doing? You're probably going to say very, very sort of harshly, very poor, if anything. But things change very quickly. I mean, what is the height now? Is there anything to salvage? Are we just riding all our hopes on the FA Cup now?
I don't even think, like, obviously the FA Cup's a bit of a gamble, and if he wins that, then obviously everything becomes good again because we've got a trophy and we're in the same position that we were before. There's still some very good teams in the FA Cup left, so that's by no means a dead set. He's got to start performing in the league because that's all we've got to play.
Do you think we can salvage anything in the league? You look at the teams that you would imagine could be catchable. Wolves above us, West Ham and maybe Newcastle are obviously, you know, plagued by injuries themselves and underperforming by their standards recently. Are they the ones that are Brighton in that mix that you think
so.
we could catch?
I think so. We've got to do it, and obviously, like, after a game like this, everyone's going to laugh at you and say that's ridiculous. But none of those teams are putting consistent performances in, and like West Ham are dropping like a stone.
Yep.
Do you know what I mean? Like Newcastle have got consistent injuries over and over again. Like Wolves, they have one week where they look brilliant, another week where they look rubbish. So do we, to be fair. So now it's one of those things. Now it will be season defining and it will be career defining for Pochettino. You've got to start being consistent and getting some consistent performances out. Because quite frankly, again, it's another draw. Call it, you know, a draw in normal time against Liverpool, draw against Man City. We've got to start doing those performances against the weaker teams. If we can do that against the weaker teams, then we will go up the table. But if he doesn't go up the table and we end up 11th at the end of the season, I do think he'll be gone.
Will the fan pressure grow on him? Because one thing that even like the fans like myself and you that try to be more level-headed, even when they're having bad performances like the one at Wolves, we're still going, look, we're in the cup final. Nothing to get sort of determined until after that anyway, because while we go and sack someone who could go to win us a cup final sort of thing. Yeah. Is that going to now change if we do start to underperform in the league? God forbid we went out to Leeds or something like that. Is the feeling around Stamford Bridge going to grow toxic, or do you think the fan base, not just sort of the online community, will sort of stick with them and understand that, look, we are where we are? Because I think when you look at things, especially when you've got the likes of Jose Mourinho on the market, Thomas Tuchel, obviously the fans will always clamour for, but it's just never going to happen because of obviously Todd Bowley and him falling out. But when you've got the likes of Jose Mourinho on the market,
Conte's on the market, Tuchel's on the market. A lot of good managers are available. You could argue, you know, Xabi Alonso. I don't think he is, but I'm just saying all of those options are going to be in the market in the summer, and so there's going to be pressure from a board perspective. But your question was on the fans, and I do think the fan pressure will start rising now. Like basically, this was his get out of jail free card, wasn't it?
Yeah.
If you're looking at it now, this was his opportunity. If he'd won that, basically, whatever happens in the rest of the season, you go, I won a trophy.
I said it to you, didn't I? I said, if you win the League Cup, you can finish 11th. I don't care. Just give me something to cheer about.
Exactly. So now that he doesn't have the get out of jail free card, it means that he has to absolutely perform in the league and from the get-go. Because otherwise, mate, it will be toxic. Regardless of what, it's already toxic online. It already is based on that performance. But, you know, if we don't win against Leeds and we don't start getting a few results in the Prem, it will get toxic, and there will be pressure on him to go before the end of the season. 100%.
The concerning thing now is, okay, you could maybe argue he never had the squad to really challenge. I would argue that Tottenham squad was very, very good at times. But the sort of question I would ask now is I would look at things and I go, okay, let's assume that we give Pochettino time. He does get his men in. They start doing well from and whatnot. Still, you're going to look at his record in finals, record against the bigger managers. It's very poor.
It is
very poor.
It's poor before he came to Chelsea. Obviously, we've only got one final to sort of look at. You know, for Chelsea, he's lost it, so it's not good at all.
Who's the biggest manager who's got a win over this season?
Emery.
Exactly.
Yeah. It says a lot. I mean, for me, it's not even the draws and the lack of results against the top six. It's the losses to the teams that we should be beating. That's the key thing that matters. And if you're not winning those games, it doesn't really matter what happens in the top six because you'll be gone anyway. It doesn't matter. So, mate, there will be more questions than ever on Pochettino now. And
all that being said,
it is hard.
All that being said, I think we should probably clarify our stance on it. That I mean, if you're anything like me, you're sort of looking at that and thinking, yeah, you know, I can actually see a way with another manager who may have won that game. On another day, had strikers been more clinical, we may have won it. But that there isn't enough for me to throw my hands in the air and go, right, we'll Poch out then, because you didn't win it.
If
because then
lost,
it's such small margins, isn't it?
If they had lost in the same result that it was against at Anfield, I should say, then fair enough, I would be going, yeah, actually, fair enough, you probably could sack him. But come on, last minute goal in extra time, we should have converted our chances. I don't think you can blame it. So I'm personally still Pochettino right now. And I think I will continue to be so until we lose against that next big sort of lower ranked team.
And what about the rest of the team? Will this be a learning curve for them? Will it be something that will incentivise them? The trip to Wembley, knowing that we did come through some tough tests to get to the final. We overturned a first leg deficit to Middlesbrough in the semi-final. Obviously, the Newcastle game, that was limbs at Stamford Bridge. We won on the penalty shootout. Petrovic was the man. Will there be enough positives to be able to help these lot grow as players, or do you think it could go the other way and sort of having this opportunity in an underwhelming season and losing out in a sort of sickening loss like that could be detrimental to their character building going forward?
I think you've just got to base it on whether they are backing Pochettino, and everything that I've heard so far is that the squad actually do. Have you kind of got that sentiment that the squad actually do kind of quite like him as a person, at least?
Talking to Joe Cole, good friend of mine, he was saying that he had been at the training ground and he was saying that the atmosphere is really good and the boys are really taking to Poch, really believing in him.
So there you go. So if the squad is still on him and they still back him, the squad is so young. We have to keep saying this. They're so young. A lot of them have never even played in the cup final before. Like think about it. Like who's had experience of cup finals in that team? Probably Enzo with the World Cup.
Yep.
Sterling has obviously played in finals before. I'm struggling to think. Like Chilwell played obviously in the Champions League. Beyond that, Palmer, but Palmer's not playing. Palmer's not playing. Palmer's on the City bench for a lot of those games.
Yeah.
So come on.
Scored in the Community Shield and the Super Cup, didn't they?
I mean, are you counting those as trophies?
Not by Man City standards. Back when we were flying high, I wasn't really counting them.
They're glorified friendlies. So the fact of the matter is as I say, that's the only way you can learn from it, can't you? Because that's the first time you've done it. Hopefully, you learn from this loss and you think, I never want to do that again. But it's all going to come down to how resilient they are, and I don't know if they are resilient yet. That's the key thing mentally. We don't have a clue about where this team are. Like we really don't. We don't know if they're going to take this and move on or whether they're going to be down in the dumps. I could absolutely see both ways. I could see them going into that Leeds game now being completely down in the dumps, also knackered, and going up against a really tough Championship team and losing that game.
Fuck me, they're going to be absolutely shattered.
They're going to be shattered
after this game. What's that, Wednesday night?
Wednesday night. It's coming around so quickly. Like that's going to be the recipe for disaster. If we go out of the FA Cup in that game, then absolutely there will be pressure. If you're asking me for my gut, I think there are some players in there that will keep their heads down, but overall, I think the squad will learn from this and they will want to get better. And I think it is more of a learning case because, like, think about it: when you're experienced and you've been there before, you're 30, you're on your way out. Like, you can beat yourself up because basically, how many more chances are you going to get? Yeah. Whereas these players, average age of the squad today, I saw someone talking about it, 23 or less than 23. Yeah. So they've got a lot of time to be in finals, haven't they? So you hope they learn from it. What do you think? Do you think they're going to move on from it?
Your guess is as good as mine.
Hard.
It's so very hard for me to say. Your guess is as good as mine, really. Do I think we'll see these boys in cup finals again? Yeah, of course I do. I think we've got some of the most talented young players in Europe, but we still need those sort of older gritty heads to sort of wax them together and get the best out of them. And we also need to sort of make sure that we have got the right man in the dugout. And I think by the end of this season, we're going to have a lot more answers for that. For me, at the moment, the jury's still out. And because the jury's still out, I'm still going to back whoever's in the dugout. So let's see how we go going forward. I think in isolation, it's a horrible result. It's a sickening feeling. But then when you look at it, and like you say, you know, we had a very good performance against Aston Villa. A couple of decent performances against Villa, you know, even in the first leg of that game. We had a good win against Crystal Palace, gained a lot of confidence from that. Didn't look great, but still went and got the win. And then over 90 minutes, draws with City and Liverpool. 2 games that, you know, on other days we could have won. I think there's enough there. It's nowhere near what we would have wanted. No. Nowhere near what we would have wanted. But there's enough there to go, there could come a time when I look back on this time and go, thank God I was patient, man. Thank God I was patient, because it could come good. So let's see what happens. More importantly than my opinion and Josh's opinion, we want your opinion. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Do you think we could have been more or less reactive and more proactive in our approach there? What did you think of the starting lineup, and ultimately, where did Chelsea go from here? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. I will be reading as many of your comments as I possibly can. Josh's channel is linked in the description to this video. We'll get in the studio. We will do a preview before the Leeds match, and hopefully, once we can all breathe a little bit and settle down, it will all be okay. People, I will see you all in the next one.